Like a good wine, do our fine asses just get even more fine with time? Today, we're going to be talking about Kristin Cavallari and her Cougar situation style breakup, Sabrina Carpenter's Time cover, a bleak new op-ed on Demi Moore's new movie in one of my favorite publications, and getting to the universal truth about it all. We're about to find out, baby. It's Talk to Me, Taylor.
Deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them, Chris. You're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby.
This is good.
Taylor Ferber.
Okay, so here's the deal. Recently on the show, I feel like I am some lame VP potential in an even lamer debate. Here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. I'm not trying to, I don't know if they co-opted it for me or me from them. Either way, we're going to ditch the bitch. Literally, I'm feeling like a 50-something, governor who's just trying to get hip with the kids. Okay. Anyway, age. We're going to talk about age today because recently on the show, I talked about time and how all of our time is running out. TikTok, bitch. TikTok Kesha style, waking up not like P. Diddy, hopefully. And today we're taking a little bit of a different angle because, as I bring this not bi-weekly, twice weekly present to you, to your ears. I'm a special type of delusional. I feel like a type of weight today, okay? As you can see, this is going to be a doozy. This is going to be a good one. I take note of things that I'm noticing, what's going on in the news, stories, pieces, and as you know, I try to wrap them in a little bow. Sometimes kind of find a common thread, right? And also taking a look at the bigger picture, like philosopher Taylor is here striking yet again. Look out, Plato. And the truth is, age is so different now than it used to be. Speaking of my guy Plato, he was like an exception, 350 BC, because this guy lived to like 70 or 80. But we all know how they used to roll back then. Washington, he was 67 when he died. Napoleon, 51 when he croaked. And Christopher Columbus was 55. You get the idea. Cut to now. Like I said, age is so different. First of all, we have a current president who may or may not even have been taken by the Grim Reaper at this point, like dribbling on his suit. We don't even know. Okay? Someone take him to the old age home and end this elder abuse, okay? Even Trump, even though he's with it, he's not a spring chicken either, right? So there's a part that's really inspiring, but you even look at how they talk about Kamala Harris. Like, she's the new hope. How could I forget the new joy, the new wave, the new generation? She's 59, right? Again, like Napoleon, Columbus, croaked by then, done. And this lady may or may not just be getting started. Like, you ain't seen nothing yet, So it really goes to show how it is, like I said, and I say this often on the show, very inspiring how much we can do, whether it be, scientific, technological advances, all in our minds. Soon enough, guys, our brains, we are going to be in a real-life San Junipero Black Mirror episode in our brains where we'll be on some hard drive of Elon Musk's wet dream forever. But until then, we got it going on. We're doing pretty well for ourselves. Like I said, age is not what it used to be. We're living longer, we're more vivacious, and we're getting shit done. Unless you're Kamala Harris. But anyway, God, sorry. Just the Nashville dry air, I guess, at this time of year. Anyway, the crazy thing is, though, even though age is so different now, we are living longer, life expectancy, we are accomplishing great things later in life, we still, as a society, obsess and fixate over age. And I don't know if I'll get to any conclusions by the end of this, but the cold, hard truth is maybe we always will. Maybe it is just the question that has stumped those from the beginning of time, and we may never know. But until then, we have some hard-hitting news to crack at this case. But Kristin Cavallari, former reality star. No, actually, this does pertain to it. And then we're going to get into more like the meteor topics. But I did think that this was interesting because, oh my God, I almost said, here's the deal again. Why is Tim Walz making his way and infiltrating my psyche? My gosh. Kamala, too. Both of them do the same. Here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. Like, babe, this isn't kindergarten class. Like, knock it off. Even though I'm doing it myself. Okay. The habit stops now. Okay. Drink every time Taylor says, here's the deal. And it's really the ghost of fucking Tim Walz taking over like a poltergeist of my body. So, Kristin Cavallari. Okay. So, she is 37. Well, cougar status. And was dating this guy who's 24. He's in some band, influencer, TikTok, something or other, okay? I don't even remember his name. The point is, she was writing home about how, and she's had very famous relationships all the way back from the shores of Laguna Beach with Steven up into NFL player Jay Cutler, and now this guy. It is kind of interesting because it was the thing to write home about. Like, she was screaming from the rooftops, like Julie Andrews on a mountaintop, about how he was the best sex she ever had, all this and that.
Am I the exact question is, am I the best sex you've ever had?
Yeah. Yeah, you are. And I think it's a lot of things. I think sex for women just gets better as you get older, because I think women, when you're in your early 20s and stuff, you're like insecure in a lot of ways. You're like worried about your body. You're like, what I look like, or we're like, I've let all of that go. And I think I'm more present physically during sex than I've ever been. I'm also so wildly attracted to you. And I think we just have like really hot sex.
Yeah. And I think also being like, because I'm so like obviously so in love with you. So that helps. Yeah. I think like having sex with someone you're in love with a lot. Yeah. It's way better.
And I thought it was interesting because they have a 13-year age gap, and all I have to say is like literally what a bunch of rookies. Is this your first rodeo? My age gap, for those of you who don't know, my man is 25, give or take years. Do with that what you will, up to interpretation. 25 years ish plus my senior. But so yeah, get in the big leagues. Like, time to separate the boys from the men. Actually, literally, in this case. And so Kristin Cavallari comes out and says, he just hasn't experienced enough life. Like, I have kids. He's a frat boy, basically, and he needs to experience life more. And I have to say, being in an age gap relationship myself, again, this shit is child's play. Again, literally. He's just themselves. There was a part of me that thought, is this legit? That could be actually a thing. You want someone a little more experienced. Or how much is it in our heads, And I don't know their personal situation. Like, maybe it did get on her nerves. But how much is it in our heads that it's like, oh, this isn't acceptable. And I should really be someone. People said that to me in the beginning of my relationship all the time. Like, someone more age appropriate, someone your own age, yada, yada. So, could it have worked? I don't know. I'm not going to be up at night, thinking about it. But it did make me think. And there's also the biological aspect. People, namely women, get so mad when this fact is brought up, but that there is something biological, okay? Don't cross me, because after my Penn State degree was earned, I went, when I lived in LA, as a hardworking red carpet reporter, to go in the trenches of Los Angeles Community College and brush up on some shit. And one of them was I think it was something like sexual dynamic, whatever it is, class. And we did, this is straight out of LACC, okay? You can't cross me. Harvard who. But how there is a biological kind of impulse and a very sort of primal impulse for both men and women. And I know women, like especially older women, they hate this because they're like, oh, older man with a younger woman. But listen, it goes both ways, right? How older men tend to be drawn to younger women because there's something that it signals about, when young women signal about, life and giving birth and fertility and being vivacious, that on some cellular level of these men's brains, the alarms are going off, right? Like, it is Winona Ryder, shoplifting circle, whatever that was, like, the Neiman Marcus alarms are ablaze, okay? And same thing, though, with women. This is where women aren't off the hook. Where women, speaking of aging like a fine wine, we always say the George Clooney's, the Brad Pitts, the Tom Brady's, aging like a fine wine. And there is something, same thing with women deeply biological about being attracted to men, because the truth is also mentally and, emotionally, women just mature so much faster than men. Again, credit, asterisk, footnote, LACC. So when we see, when we're around men who are older, that signals wisdom and experience and protection and security. And like, that's the jive. That's the vibe, So when you see it kind of flipped like this with the Kristin Cavallari thing, it happens. I'm not saying it's like against, but I'm just saying, it definitely makes you think about it a different way, and like, good for them for trying it. But whether it be, I guess my point is, whether it be socially or biology, kind of just like go for it and see. And like, I wouldn't let one get in your head one way or the other. So that's what I thought when I first saw this story. To bring it all back was, how much of this is this because it was causing a rift and problems, and how much is it because one or both of them didn't think, well, she was the one who broke up with and initiated it. Again, hard-hitting stuff, I know, like, thank God, breaking a sweat, hard news. But how much did she think it just wasn't right for her life and what we're told to be? Like, I think all the rules like age are changing. You even have, like, back to the male woman age gap, and I talked about age gaps a little bit in one of my recent episodes, even portrayed in pop culture, like Pretty Woman and all this. But even Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's dad, who was 30 years Margaret Trudeau's, his wife for some time, her senior. So again, I just think age really has no bounds, everybody. Like Confucius, Socrates, all in the mind of a blonde, like age, while we may have the confines of biology and of science and of culture and, our social nature and climate, really, like, just something to leave you guys with as we continue on this journey. And maybe it just won't ever end. Maybe this is real life loss. This is lost. You are Jack. Okay. This is the real life Twilight Zone plot twist. Maybe this episode just never ends. It never started, it never ended. No. But something to bear in mind as we continue on this path through these other stories. So the next up, I have Sabrina Carpenter on the cover of Time magazine. Bear in mind that fresh, little, wide-eyed, horny Sabrina is only 25 years old, okay? This girl has the world in, like, putty in the palm of her hand, at her fingertips. This bouncy, beautiful Marilyn Monroe 2.0, blonde, questionable wig, I don't know. It's luscious. I'm lost in it. Her whole presence, her whole persona, her whole brand, everything, okay? But what's so crazy is this is like a meta moment, because in her Time feature, in which she just came out, today or yesterday, I'm shooting this on Wednesday as the cover story, she talks about how she feels old. I'm like, okay, well then I may as well join the grandma home, nursing home, and Joe Biden, because like, what, bitch? What? So, and just a little like context too about Time magazine itself, right? And if you're wondering, like, should I even be listening to this jibber jabber? Should I be listening to this nonsense? Because like, is Time to be trusted? Are they another Washington Post? Are they another Atlantic? Even like talking about Time, and just a little like fun historic sidebar. But you do think of the iterations of it through the years, and the thing about Time, almost like a Rolling Stone back when it was good, is that it was super provocative and controversial and cutting edge, right? So you had, and it highlighted, everything from, Hitler in the 40s with a red X over his face to the OJ case when that verdict, came to light. It had Charlie Chaplin in 1925, Joe DiMaggio 1936, JFK, a portrait of him in 1962. And then cut to, there was a very controversial piece of the picture of the Twin Towers on the heels of 9/11. There was that controversial breastfeeding one where the woman, speak of age, actually, and what is hard to argue that it's fucking weird. It was this woman breastfeeding what's like basically a 3-year-old, which is super famous and controversial. And then, you know, to answer kind of what I was getting at, up as of late, it has, like, everything else has gone bad, has gone rotten, like rotten pumpkins and tomatoes to throw on the stage. Like, it's gotten super biased and political, just like the Rolling Stone, you know, like it would showcase Obama in his iconic, like, hope aesthetic, and then Trump, like, being, you know, the big mean Grinch at the border when it comes to immigration, you know, and it would be like Trump's America and him looking down on a little girl, whatever. So take it with a grain of salt. Either way, I read the whole Sabrina piece, and back to, you know, again, we can talk about the Hitlers, the Charlie Chaplins, the Trump, but let's get to what really matters, guys, is Sabrina Carpenter and her sex symbol image at the age of 25 now. So 2024, just kill me. No. But yes, yeah, we are becoming much more serious as that's actually another episode for another day. Like, are we just increasingly becoming more or less serious? Because we're less serious, like, given the TikTok of it all, but we're more serious in that we're like, our panties, there's something up our assholes and our panties are in a wad, like 24/7 over every little thing. But I digress. That's for another day. Bookmark, put a pin in it. So the interesting thing, you know, I got the story about everybody who's I'm not going to let you off the hook. I'm not going to let you go today until I tell you my Sabrina Carpenter story. So picture it. Before she was this worldwide phenomenon, right? And I bring this up because in the piece, it talks about how if you're not familiar with her work, you would think she just blew up overnight, and how she, like, started uploading YouTube videos when she was 9, basically, then was on Disney Channel and the whole thing. But she really did. Like, last year, she was performing, like, in an outside garage in the parking lot at the VMAs, and now, like, everybody, it was, like, the event, the main thing. Everyone's screaming every one of her words, you know, selling out Madison Square Garden. Like, it's a whole phenomenon. And so, picture it. It's 2018 in hot Southern California. Gavin Newsom is ruining our lives, as is Eric Garcetti, I believe, at the time. Anyway, I was at the Teen Choice Awards. I think it was something like that. Teen Choice, People's Choice, I think Teen Choice Awards in, like, the hot of summer in 2018, like I said. And Sabrina Carpenter is on the carpet, and I don't know if she does still, but at the time, she had the same publicist who worked with, like, Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. Fucking nightmare, right? Absolute fucking nightmare. Like, you need a blood, hair, sperm, DNA sample, like, cross-checked lie detector to get near these people now, right? But at the time, Sabrina Carpenter was, like, kind of a nobody. And I remember I had a friend next to me on the carpet from People magazine, and he was smart. Me, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I don't care what publicists like me, and I don't care if they know I don't like them, because they're cock-blocking my journalistic integrity and ethics. Anyway, the guy next to me at People, my friend, was kind of, you know, trying to do, like, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, I'll help you out, whatever. You know, maybe it'll help me in the future, and thinking in his head. Like, he literally says to Sabrina Carpenter's publicist as she's coming down, like, what do you want us to, like, talk to her about? As if, like, right, like, I'm throwing you a bone. Like, nobody really cares, but, like, I'm gonna give attention to your, you know, C-list talent because I want to talk to, you know, Selena Gomez one day, whatever. So that's what my friend did, guys. Like, this isn't the most anti-authority. I kick myself. Talk to me, Taylor moment. I think that I just passed on the interview. I was like, I don't know this girl. I'm not going to waste my time. Like, literally, I don't even think that I made the effort to interview this girl. Or maybe when my friend from People was, I just, like, threw another bone and put my mic in the mix, completely unenthused. And that's my Sabrina Carpenter story. But it comes into play. I'm not just talking the talk. It comes into play because when I was reflecting on that story today, even before I read the timepiece, I was like, man, she's lucky that her come up happened so fast. That was not that long ago, right? And you think about the people, like, I always think about, you may not know him, but someone like a Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us, who's also the nicest guy ever, he's talked about just being in Hollywood for years. And imagine what that's like. Like, trying to get in front of the same people over. Literally, it's a form of masochism. It's like, I just love the public torture and humiliation of trying to make it happen in front of these same people over and over. And then he finally broke through with This Is Us, like in his 50s, I think. So, you know, I get it. I know like youth in Hollywood is the name of the game, blah, blah. But like all things considered, Sabrina Carpenter is really lucky. I'm not saying she hasn't worked hard, but this was a relatively fast come up. And in her timepiece, she talks about kind of this idea of, you know, it's even like it's throughout the story, and then it's kind of a line at the very end that's saying, you know, I always dreamt of this since I was a little girl, but, you know, it's not quite in the timeline like what I thought it was. And I'm thinking like, bitch, what are you, 65 years old? Like, what? You're 25. You know, as if it was like so far down the line of years. As if she's Rose in the Titanic, like, it's been 87 years, whatever it is. What? You're 25. And, you know, she even makes a comment in the piece, like, I have to remember that, you know, in this business, in show business, you're basically dried up after 21. So I'm not saying it's necessarily her fault or her mindset. It is, of course, like I said, it's the name of the game in show business, but, you know, it's just wild to me, especially because, like I said in the beginning, how people are doing things so much later in life. I don't care what sector it is. I don't care if it's Hollywood. I don't care if it's tech. I don't care if it's innovation. I don't care if it's politics. So many things, you know, health and medicine, so many things, right? So that was interesting to say the least. And something I really appreciated, speaking of Sabrina in a little sidebar, and you talk about the generational differences, right, is how she recently collaborated with Christina Aguilera. In fact, I think Christina is the one who wrote, well, Christina Aguilera in some way was part of the timepiece. I don't know if it was like, quote, written by Christina or whatever it is. But, you know, I thought that this was actually really great because Sabrina's 25, Christina's 43, and Sabrina talks about how when she was young, she idolized Christina, would sing her songs in talent show, da-da-da. Cut to now, Christina Aguilera does a Spotify, like this whole beautiful powerhouse anniversary. I think it's like 20 or 25 years from Xtina or one of her iconic early albums. And she closes it out. Christina's looking bomb, by the way. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like, she is having, because it was touch and go there, but she was having a minute. And don't come after me. I get it. Oh my God, criticizing other women, nipping and nipping. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Okay, she looks fucking fine. Just like Katy Perry too. All these women, I'm like, damn, bitch. Talk about age, right? I'm like, what fountain of youth are you people drinking out of that's not just Mr. Plastic Surgery Beverly Hills guy? Like, I need to know. But anyway, I like it. I like how they're looking. But anyway, so you would think, okay, so the whole thing ends with the duet of Sabrina Carpenter and Christina doing What a Girl Wants. And I just thought it was so, honestly, you know, it was really a beautiful moment. I've been replaying it, rewatching it. You know, Sabrina's so talented, of course, so talented. And then Christina just comes in, literally sitting back on the couch and is so modest and gracious, but literally with zero energy, just like projects this powerhouse, like earth-shattering voice. And it's just like iconic. Not that she's trying to upstage her, because, you know, we've seen those videos. Like, need I remind you of the Whitney Houston Brandy one? I don't think this was that kind of moment, but it was crazy. Just showed you, like, holy shit, like, just how good she is.
Why are you down there? Please do that.
But further, I loved this because it shows first of all, the overlap, right, of the generational differences there, and how, like, really a gift to Christina, right, when you think about it, like her art being passed on to the biggest, most influential female artist right now that everyone's talking about. Like, that's really cool. But also the idea, and this gets into my next and last story, about how the older woman, younger woman thing, they're often adversaries, right? Because older women will definitely, a lot of the times, like, have contempt for younger women for many reasons. Their youthfulness, their beauty, we know this. The facts don't lie. It is the science. I loved this whole thing. I thought it was fantastic. And this is why, this last piece here is why you would think it'd be more of an adversarial situation versus what it was, like Christina welcoming Sabrina Carpenter with open arms, right? Is a piece I read in the Free Press, which is my girl Barry Weiss's platform. I love the Free Press. It is an op-ed by a female News Nation anchor. And it's about Demi Moore's new movie, in which it's sort of, I haven't seen it, but from reading the piece, it seems like I don't even know if it's a dark comedy. I just think it's a dark satire about Demi Moore becomes like two versions of herself, like young and old, and they eventually like try to like take the other one out until she literally, like her body literally falls apart. And so the piece is literally called For Women, Aging is Like a Horror Film. And so the writer talks all about how she too has fallen victim to this nip tuck era of, and I don't know how old, maybe she's in her 40s or 50s, but, doing eyelid stuff and this and that, and like constantly keeping up with the, like a cog in the wheel, like constantly keeping up with this perpetuated cycle, right? And guys, you aren't off the hook, because in this conclusion, in this climax, I'm bringing it to your ass too. And that's kind of like the point of this whole thing, right? But how women dissect and all this and that. And then in the end, it's kind of bleak. Like she kind of comes around at the end is like, I'm aware of all this. This is our culture. Like it's kind of to what end? And, it's not super healthy and it's toxic. And yet here I've done it. And like in the morning, I'm calling my shrink. I don't remember if she's like, in the morning, I'm calling my shrink or my Botox man to do more. Like kind of thing, right? So kind of like self-aware and self-deprecating and like talk about dark comedy, right? Also, sidebar, because in the name of the game of transparency here, and this is like, I'm just giving it all. I'm giving my age gap. I'm giving this and that. I might even send you nudes after this. I mean, it is anyone's guess. All bets are off. So I actually recently I feel like I should address this because I don't know when I'll be talking about this again because it's fresh. But I actually just did Botox for the first time. I know. I just did it like right up here on my forehead. And I will and the reason I'm sharing this too is because in all honesty, it's not because of all this. I could give like two fucking fucks, right? I just don't I don't care. But it was really funny going in because you would think that I was getting open heart surgery and a quadruple bypass and then followed by a kidney transplant. Like I was asking so many questions. Meanwhile, these ladies are coming in and out in 5 minutes, not even thinking. I was like, do you see? This is why I don't do drugs. But I just was like, I have friends who have recommended it. I think it'll translate and look really nice on camera. And kind of like the Christina Aguilera thing. I don't know what she's done. Same thing with Katy Perry. But, I'm not opposed to, I don't suspect ever. Me personally, I don't care what you do. Me personally, and of course our culture has gone too far. This is like another story for another time. I've talked about it a lot in excess. I don't suspect ever, really wanting to do much more of that situation, this, if anything. But yeah, so that's it more than anything. And I do, when someone's like, just looking a little right and tight, I'm like, okay, like, let's do it. But I think, again, if it comes from that place of like positivity versus like negativity and self-hate versus like, how can I just like level up and get a little like I said, like tight little glow, like rock and roll, move and shape going versus like constantly like picking, cutting, that's no good. That's not good. But anyway, there you go. There's my little first time Botox. They were literally like, look at the Botox virgin. And then here I was, the 40-year-old. No, I'm only 33, the 33-year-old virgin. So this is a perfect ending because I specifically, while doing this episode, because guys, I love the guys who listen to my show. My audience, I don't know if you guys know, this is about 50-50 men, women, right? So this pertains to you too, because while prepping for this I specifically wanted to avoid these tropes and cliches, some of which have been kind of weaved throughout this episode, but that have been mentioned of women, being really, and then again, I understand why. I just think it's a tired sort of, we kind of get it, right? Of women feeling like they'll be, used goods or dried up or old news and constantly have to look youthful and younger, while men, can go on forever and be 100 and be a mummy in a tomb and still look hot, right? And I really wanted to avoid that because when you think about it, everybody chases youthfulness. Everybody does. Even if with men, maybe it's not in the most overt way, but even when you think about, look at modeling or look at sports. I talked about sports, right, in one of my recent episodes, and men who are females, but male athletes, it's like, oh no, they're too old to play. They've had their time. Get someone, more, fresher on the field, right? And the truth is, I'm here to say this, we may have had fun today, but existentialism doesn't die, my friends. And so this really goes for everybody. Men, women, regardless of really what era or what time or what culture, the truth is we're all afraid of that final day. We are all afraid of the pearly gates and of death, to be frank. And so what do we all do? One commonality that we have, we are going to go ahead and chase that youth. It's what it is.
Why don't you come over to my place for a glass of wine and a couple of fruit pies, and then we can go in the back room and play Crazy Snakes?